Hey everybody, this is Mindy,
I'm John.
or with Radenso Radar, and happy 2020 to everybody. We have a lot of amazing things to share with you guys, and I think some people have been waiting for 2020 calendar to roll over because we have some cool things we want to announce.
Yeah, I know I have. I'm tired of not being able to say anything for the last couple of years about what we've been working on. So I think 2020 is going to be a good year for us and hopefully for all of you as well.
Yeah. So we want to make this video kind of like a brief overview of what we have in store for you guys this year. We can't go in depth. The plan is for future videos to dive deeper in section by section, go deeper into technology, how things work. But again, this is really designed to be as like a wet your whistle, get your feet wet kind of video. So yeah, a couple years we've been working, right? Or you've been working.
Well, yeah. Us and our talented engineering team.
Yeah. So kind of like walk us through that a little bit, if you don't mind. Like,
Yeah.
what have the last few years here, like from your perspective, for the outsiders, what does your role look like the last couple of years?
So, as most of you know, I've had control over Radenso now for a few years. And at first, it was just a huge process of just getting the name out there more, getting everybody familiar with it, engaging with our customers. As we did that, we learned features that we wanted to add to our radar detectors, and we tried to be pretty responsive to that. But sometimes, even though we have really, really good partners, we're a small company, right? We're not the size of Google or Apple, and if we ask a feature to be done, maybe we wouldn't get the same, I don't want to say priority paid to it, but again, we're a small company and we're just sharing factories with many other companies. So when we started to feel pressured by some of our response time and the technical level of features that we wanted to add, we said, hey, I wonder if there's a way that we could kind of do this ourselves and bring it in-house. And it was probably about two and a half years ago when we made that decision to start. And it was a little bit nerve-wracking because it's hugely expensive.
Yeah.
On top of growing the company.
Not just financially, but expensive, like from a people perspective, finding like
it's hard to find really talented engineers.
Yeah, who care and have passion about like this specific project. It's a bit of a misfit project.
Well, and that's actually an interesting point because right now with most other companies in this industry purchasing detectors from just a couple of manufacturers that also make many other products, I felt like sometimes there was a disconnect between the engineers that were working on these products and the consumers that actually use them. Yeah. And sometimes that's why a feature wasn't implemented, or maybe they didn't understand why a feature would be important to be implemented. Just to give a really basic example, over in South Korea where a lot of engineering is done, obviously that's where Unidin's made and that's where some of our products are currently made as well. They don't have access to a lot of the cars that give false alerts here. Yeah. Or maybe in one of the big cities in South Korea, maybe driving a car is not as big of a deal as it is in the United States because everything's more condensed and there's better public transportation. Yeah. So I found that the people that were making these products had a different experience than the domestic United States customers that were using them. And I thought that was an area that we might be able to improve on by finding engineers that not just were talented at what they did, but kind of understood the problem space better. And were enthusiasts themselves, enthusiasts of engineering, of RF, of DSP, that kind of thing.
How many times have you heard in the last 5 or 10 years from other companies, other people that you I don't want to say, frequently talk to, but that we even interact with on a random basis that say, oh, it can't be done, or that technology is not available, or it's, you can't have that in a car, or it's bajillion dollars, right? Yeah. Like, how many times have you heard that? Like, this 2020 is really born out of necessity,
Well, and that's one thing that frankly really pissed me off a lot, both as a consumer and as somebody in the industry, is when you would try to find more technical information about a problem or find a reasoning why another company wouldn't do a certain thing, you would ask them and then they would give you an answer. For example, the BSMs. Yeah. Well, filtering out all 100% of BSMs is impossible because K-band for police radar is also similar to K-band from these BSMs, and it's just impossible.
Yeah.
It's just not true. Yeah. And that was one of the kind of driving motivators to do this, is that we've known for several years that all of these things were possible. Mm-hmm. And we kind of wanted to get together as a team and really make a statement and put out a product that not just was the best radar detector, but flipped how people think about what's possible and what's not in the countermeasures industry.
Yeah, and that's kind of what's insane. Take everything that you know about radar detectors and move it to the side. I think that's a very, very, safe statement to make. There's two things that we really want to look at in today's video, and it's two major technologies that we're talking about. One is a physical thing that you actually see, and one is one that you don't. We have Ray, which is Radenso Artificial Intelligence, and then we have Thea. So let's go kind of high level. Again, this is a high level video. We'll dive deeper later on, but talk to me the difference about Ray and Thea.
So Thea is the actual physical radar detector. This is what you're going to put on the windshield of your car. That's going to beep, and you're going to press the button, et cetera, et cetera. Ray is a broader technology. That is Radenso Artificial Intelligence that will eventually be applied to multiple products in our product lineup. Ray is what does the actual AI learning, but Ray kind of lives inside of Thea and will live inside of our other feature detectors as well. Yeah. So Thea's in your car, Ray is kind of everywhere.
So did you have this brilliant moment one night with a glass of bourbon and say, you know what, I'm going to build a badass radar detector and it's going to use artificial intelligence? How is it?
No, it was 3 glasses of bourbon.
Yes.
No, but in actuality, it was. I can't take full credit for this. We have a really good team, and I think the initial idea I don't even think it came from me. I don't remember whether it was Sterling, possibly, but it was a team collaboration effort that started with us having to prove it out, kind of on a test basis.
That's awesome.
And then moving from the proving stage into prototyping into building an actual product on it, which is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, and I think the idea when, as Thea, she didn't have a name then, but years ago when the idea of Thea started, it was, how do we build the most badass radar detector that no matter where you live in the world, that it is going to be amazing and everything you'd ever hoped and wished and dreamed of would actually come to fruition. So that being said, let's talk about the major key points that Thea, which was named after the goddess of sight, Titan goddess of sight, which is interesting because Thea sees everything, right? And that's kind of the idea or the premise behind Thea. So what are the big things that really separate Thea from every other radar detector, including our own stuff that exists today on the market?
So I think from a consumer standpoint, they don't maybe necessarily care how it happens behind the scenes, right? They just want a good product that works. Yeah. So I'll answer from that perspective first.
Smart.
You're going to have no BSM falses at all. You're going to have significantly more range than any other detector, and it's the most easily updated detector on the market because it's a computer in a box as opposed to a traditional old-fashioned radar detector.
You've used analogy before, typical or legacy radar detectors, as they're now referring them to, anything that's not artificial intelligence driven, has a processing power of a Fitbit.
Yeah.
Which is just mind-blowing. You're going from a Fitbit to a full...
A Fitbit's faster than many old radar detectors. It's crazy, yeah.
To a Linux operating system.
Yep. So for those of you that may not be familiar with Linux, it's just a computer operating system. It's kind of similar to Windows and Mac. And, with your computer, one of the things that struck me was we're constantly getting updates. It adds features, makes it faster, and the operating system doesn't necessarily care as much about the hardware underneath, right? The Mac OS X, it runs on a Mac Pro, it runs on a MacBook Pro, 2 completely different computers, an iMac, but the same features are presented to the end user. And so that's kind of what we wanted to do with our radar detector line, was build one almost it's almost like a countermeasures operating system. I kind of joke around and call it Detector OS, even though that's completely made up. It's just Linux. But when we come out with these new detectors, we're overbuilding the hardware, and then most of the improvement will come in the software over time.
Which is awesome.
And that's great from a consumer standpoint because you don't have to spend $600 or $700 on a new detector every single year. But you can still get...
You've overbuilt the ever living out of this, right?
Exactly.
Just making it rain.
Our vision here, and our criteria for releasing the detector is that it won't be released until it is already the best detector on the market in pretty much every aspect. But that's just the beginning compared to what a computer can do, right? Saying the best radar detector on the market, that's a pretty, I don't want to say it's a low bar, but it's a very limiting set of criteria. I don't want the best radar detector on the market. I want the best way to prevent getting tickets on the market. And
True.
we believe what that is to put a computer in your car hooked up to a radar detector horn that we can continue updating. We can even increase sensitivity via software updates. I mean, the possibilities on this thing are unprecedented in the industry.
Is it going to have arrows?
Yes, it will have arrows.
Question we get all the time. Is it going to have arrows? Yes, it will have arrows. We love arrows. So let's see here. When does it launch? When do we get to see Thea?
It will launch when I feel that it is the best radar detector on the market.
Is it going to be this year?
It will be this year.
Excellent.
But
How?
it's done. It's done when it's done. Don't rush me, Mindy.
I will. On behalf of all y'alls, I'm rushing him. Just kidding. We like to do it right. I get that. Another question: how much is it going to cost us? How much lunch money do I need to save up?
It's going to be expensive, and this is also a question that we get often. And I intend on doing a lot more education and more videos, kind of tear down videos showing what's inside this thing. I will say it's going to be a good value, but it is also going to be expensive. And the reason why is because we overbuilt it.
Yeah.
We're planning on this hardware lasting for a very long time, both for the consumer and for us. And the components that we've put in this, so just so you can see, we had this at SEMA, the trade show. This is a prototype of what the actual horn looks like. And it's just this silver part. None of this copper and switches are going to be in the final model. But this is the actual horn from Thea. And inside here is a circuit board that contains some electronics to help receive radar. I have two parts in this front end, single components that cost more than an entire unit in R3 costs to manufacture. Mm-hmm. So that's the level of RF performance that you're going to get out of this thing. And because of that, even if we're going to take less margin than we're used to, which we are, it's still going to be expensive. This is designed to be a statement product.
Think about going from, a rotary phone to, iPhone 11, right?
Yeah, iPhone's a lot more expensive.
Yeah, but you look at what it's capable of doing versus a rotary phone, right?
Yep.
It's literally that staggering when you look at the technology breakdowns, and even from like you're saying, from composition sense, like the amount of features and technology that's packed into this, it's literally night and day. And then like going from rotary to iPhone 11 would be like the only way to like closely,
Yep.
associate that with it. So what if I don't have a radar detector, or I'm on the fence, or I'm waiting for Thea? What do I do?
Keep in mind, this is under development, so because I can't give you a firm date for when I feel it's going to be done, I don't want people to drive without protection for however many months it may be. The radar detectors on the market now, no, they're not as good as Thea, but they're still going to protect you from a police officer in most cases. So I wouldn't sit around and not purchase either our competitors or our products over the next few months. And Thea is also going to be a different price point than what we currently have now.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at something like a Radenso XP, you may not be the same customer that's going to spend much more than that to get a Thea.
Yeah.
So I would go ahead and buy a current detector and enjoy driving protected over the next few months.
Yeah, I like it. Cool. So that being said, we're going to wrap up for today. We'll be back with more in-depth on all those technology and features that we were talking about earlier. And until then, take care, guys.
Take care. Happy New Year.